on a Friday night. I know nobody's listening because y'all are all zooming, but I got a shot of hot rock and roll for you anyway. Kale, a Red River rock and roll request. Trick-or-treat!
And happy Halloween.
I got a rock.
Hey, welcome to the Halloween party, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Horror Guy Keenan, here with the news, reviews, and so much more for your Halloween and horror needs. It is now March going into April, and I got a ton of stuff to talk to you guys about. So much so that I don't even have time to gab to you all about what it's all about. But we have a little bit of news about 3 from Hell from Rob Zombie, his new film from the Devil's Rejects, House 1000 Corpses, the Firefly Family, just legacy. We have so much of that stuff to talk about. Reviews on Ash vs. Evil Dead, Annihilation came out, Strangers, so much more. Lots of stuff to talk about. Before, let's go back to Stretch, and we're going to listen to No One Lives Forever by Oingo Boingo.
Nowhere to run, no time to cry, so celebrate while you still can. And
That was from the famous Oingo Boingo album, Dead Man's Party. If you guys know that producers Danny Elfman and Steve Bartek worked on that album. That released back in October 28th, 1985, the year I was born. Yeah, showing my age, everybody. For all you guys and gals out there who do not know, the Everyday's Halloween podcast has gone to YouTube. That's right. If you head over to YouTube right now and you search Keenan McClelland, that's right, my entire full name, Keenan Space McClelland, you can check out some of my my trips to pretty cool places that I'm documenting. I'm trying to do this thing more every year. Just kind of take you all on a road trip and just edit a little bit of fun video for you all. Right now, I can't give you guys a hyperlink because it's fucking long and crazy until I get 100 subscribers. Then I get a nice little thing. It can just be youtube.com/channel/Everyday's Halloween podcast or something like that. But just search my name, search Horror Guy on YouTube. You'll be able to find it. Quickest way to do it is just go straight to Twitter or straight to Facebook and just look up the Everyday's Halloween podcast. I got links up there for you guys. And you get to travel along with me to some crazy, spooky, creepy places. But let's jump right into news. So there's only so much news that gets me super pumped. Like last year's news about, the Halloween sequel that is coming out later this year with involvement from John Carpenter. That was, made me ecstatic because Halloween is easily my favorite slasher franchise of all time, even the bad ones. But something tops the Halloween franchise for me, and that is Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. I know, I'm in that camp. I loved it since day one when I saw House in theaters. He's making a third installment, 3 from Hell. That's right, Baby, Otis, and Captain Spaulding are all coming back. I don't know how, but they are, and I'm fucking excited. Rob Zombie released 31. He did it like with a Kickstarter thing. It came out. Some people were kind of biased about it, liked it, hated it. It's whatever. Lords of Salem came out. A lot of mixed reviews on that one as well. I loved Lords of Salem. I thought it was freaking great. But I feel like his heart lies within these characters, the Firefly Family that he created. The tone of that movie, he just gets so down pat. And now we're finally getting a next film to that. So far, the news that we have right now, members, we're definitely getting Sid Haig back as Captain Spaulding. We're getting Bill Moseley back as Otis B. Driftwood. We're getting Sherry Moon, Rob Zombie's wife, back as Baby Firefly. Added to that list just recently, we got Austin Stoker from Assault on Precinct 13, and we got Dee Wallace from E.T. and Rob Zombie's Halloween and Lords of Salem has added to the cast. I'm sure, once this podcast goes up, Rob's going to have at least 3 to 4 to 18 more HorrorCon veterans that you've probably met in the past. It'll be in this film because that's what he does. And I love it. I love that he teases and gives all these great horror veterans a chance to play around in his movies. We recently got to see a Paddy Wagon, little teasers of, how these characters are getting transported in. If you're not familiar, and spoiler warning if you haven't seen The Devil's Rejects, but also if you haven't seen The Devil's Rejects, shame on you. The 3, just the rejects from the devil, Otis, Baby, and Captain Spaulding, are all shot up in a blaze of glory, like Bonnie and Clyde, in their final stance with the police. So how do these 3 characters come back to terrorize the world once more? Well, I'm just going to speculate here and say, because they are rejected by the devil in the Devil's Rejects, something tells me they're going to be literally undead and having to walk the earth, being the 3 from Hell in this film. Now, that kind of takes things a little bit more of a supernatural route, which, I think that's the reason why Devil's Rejects works so well, is because it didn't really have much of a supernatural element to it. If you've seen House of a Thousand Corpses, things get a little crazy. There's a scene in Devil's Rejects where they kind of tie in House of a Thousand Corpses a little bit more, where they pull Dr. Satan from under the ground, and he's in the hospital, and they're trying to recoup him, and he ends up ripping out Rosario Dawson's neck, and she's bleeding everywhere. And it was supposed to be like, they were this crazy satanic family that had this creator of fucking insane people underground. I think that was the right move from Lionsgate and Rob. I'm not sure really who made that decision, but in the end, I think it was Rob. If you watch the 30 Days in Hell documentary, basically saying it just didn't tie in right with the film. Devil's Rejects has this very real, visceral, raw feeling to it. You know, you can kind of relate the characters of the Manson family killings to this very 70s raw, just visceral film. So nothing really supernatural really ever happens in Devil's Rejects. Now, in Three from Hell, if they add some of the stuff to this movie, it might sway people a little bit differently. Now, granted, I think it is Lionsgate and Bandai who are putting out this film. Again, I really hope this is a theatrical release rather than a straight-to-DVD thing. That'll show the quality a little bit. I know 31 had this kind of tie-in where it was theaters and video on demand. I think that kind of killed that movie for them. It's just a different time. It's hard to get a movie out into theaters. But I think Rob could do it. I think if the backing is right and, he could really make something that goes back to theaters. But I mean, it had a great soundtrack to The Devil's Rejects. We had some classic Allman Brothers in there, specifically the Terry Reid soundtrack. I'll admit to you guys, I didn't even know who Terry Reid was until I watched The Devil's Rejects, and I fell in love. I thought the music that I think he added about 3 to 4 tracks, and that just ending whenever the three are all lit up in the car and they die, and then it just fades to the winding road to Terry Reid's Seat of Memory. It's fucking beautiful. So if Rob wants to recapture that feeling in Three from Hell, he's got to get Terry Reid back. He's got to get some original songs back in there. He's got to get some licensed stuff to kind of really bring you back to that time. I'm guessing this is still the 70s. So there's a lot of steps that Rob has to take delicately for it to really tie in nicely to The Devil's Rejects without making it feel like just a tropey, horrible add-on to a great film. Like I said, a lot of people don't really like House of a Thousand Corpses. For me, it's probably my favorite horror film of all time. Yeah, fucking strike me down with lightning. I don't give a shit. I love that movie. So I like the campy a little bit. I don't mind having a little cheese to my horror. And I thought Rob Zombie did a really good job with that with House of a Thousand Corpses. So now in this third film, if he adds a little bit of aspects from House, a little bit of aspects from Devil's Rejects, I think he could have something really special here. Now you gotta remember, Sid Haig, Sherry Moon, and Bill Moseley have all aged quite a bit since this last film. Sid's a little bit slower now, but he's still doing great. He's still hitting up all the cons and stuff. Bill's still spry as ever. He's got his big gray grizzly beard back. I think he'll be just fine. And Sherry's gone a little vegan. She's getting up there, but you know what? It's fine. The three of them are great. I think if they do something with the makeup, I mean, they all got shot like in the face and in the body. So I could see them walking around with like a little bit of makeup done to them, and that would kind of cover up the aging process, I feel, just a bit, and that would kind of work for what they're trying to do here. Very risky move for Rob. He could really put his legacy in the ground with this one, but I'm all for it. I want this film to be great. I want it to be good. Local Boogeyman just released a Three from Hell T-shirt. That's Rob Zombie's MO, man. He'll release a logo, and somebody he knows that has a clothing shop will sell it for fucking $40. But you can get that right now at localboogeyman.com. And they just released our new Total Skull line. That was Sherry Moon's clothing line from way back in the day. We worked with her on the show a few times with Bloody Disgusting, promoting that, my band. So that was a good time. But yeah, so they just released some Total Skull stuff there. Very exciting. I'm happy to see Rob Zombie kind of diving back into what he knows and what he loves, and I'm for it, guys. I am so for it.
Tocar.
¿Quién es?
Juan Valdez.
Juan Valdez, ¿quién?
Tiny foot the stump. Arriba.
¡Vámonos, Tiny! ¡Vámonos! ¡Madera! Oh, jeez.
Tiny.
We love you, Tiny.
Tiny, Tony, whatever.
So the Oscars were this past month, and people like George A. Romero were remembered. Obviously, the godfather of zombies. You You have to honor him, along with a few other very poignant people in the creation of film and cinema. Horror, as we know, usually doesn't get much love at the Academy Awards, but this year it kind of did. Jordan Peele's Get Out won an award for Best Screenplay. Guillermo del Toro won for Best Director and Best Picture with his creature feature, The Shape of Water. But one person was left off the list. Let me just run down some of his films for you all. The Funhouse, Salem's Lot, Life Force. He did a few episodes of Freddy's Nightmare. But most importantly, he directed one of the scariest movies of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and did the sequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. But in Hollywood's eyes, that might not be good enough. Let's not forget the one film that really put him on the map, Poltergeist. Yes, I'm talking about none other than Tobe Hooper. Tobe Hooper was forgotten in the memory of at the Academy Awards this year. How do you leave off the director of Poltergeist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre? It blows my mind, you guys. You know, the Academy Award, the Oscars, Hollywood has their head so far up their asses, you know, about putting diversity and giving everybody what they want, that they don't go back and they look at the classics. Now, granted, that stuff's great. I'm not knocking it at all. But we gotta remember what made cinema great. Tobe Hooper was that, yeah. You know, whatever. It bums me out. I'm glad to see that the horror community caught that shit right off bat. But yeah, man, that's a shame that you forget somebody as poignant as Tobe Hooper in Hollywood. So this evening, I'm going to pay homage to Tobe Hooper and play you all a little clip from the Masters of Horror legacy with some of your favorite Masters of Horror, including John Landis, Bruce Campbell, and so many more, giving their thoughts on Tobe Hooper and his legacy.
Sweltering summer day, a remote farmhouse, the stench of rotting flesh all around. And that's before the director shouts action. Sometimes it's the conditions on the set that can be the worst horror of all. Tobe Hooper found out the hard way during filming of the classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a film that would forever change the way we think about power tools and barbecue.
When I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, I think that's really a scary, very funny, by the way, but really a scary, scary movie.
One of the movies that had a practical impact in my life was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. From that moment until 4 years later, I didn't eat any meat. I became a total vegetarian. And then one day I ate 3 chickens in one single sitting, and that ended.
The horror genre had gotten kind of boring. And also I loved the genre, and I wanted to see something that gave me my tickets money's worth. And I figured I was, you know, paying, I don't know what, $2 a ticket, $1.50 a ticket, whatever. And I was getting about 10 cents worth of scare. A friend of mine suggested that I go to the student union and see this black and white movie that was getting quite a lot of response, and it was Night of the Living Dead. And I walked out thinking, yeah, okay, that's the way to do it. That's a good skyrocket that can be seen from far away. So I was Christmas shopping, and I was in the hardware department. It was something like a Sears store, and God, I hate crowds. I hate them closing in on you, and so they were closing in, and I was kind of like freaking, you know, just wanted to get out of there, get out of the crowd. And so I found myself in front of a chainsaw display in the hardware department, and that's where the idea came from. Well, if I pick this damn thing up and start it, you know, they'll part like the Red Sea, and I can get out of here. Well, I didn't do that, of course, but when I got home, by the time I got home, and I think the entire structure seemed to come like in one package, maybe like a nanosecond. But the configuration of the hitchhiker, the cook, and then everything tumbling back into itself was like an instant. immediate notion that came out of that experience of wanting to get out of that crowd. Leatherface came from the family doctor who told me when I was 10 or 11 years old that he, when he was in pre-med school, he skinned a cadaver's face and dried it out and wore it for a masked Halloween party. So, okay, that's cool. We got the skeleton from India through a pharmaceutical company, and the real skeletons are less expensive than the plastic one. But I'm just wondering, where do they get these skeletons? Where do they have skeleton farms? How do they get perfect? And they're cheaper than plastic ones. It was in August. It was like 110. Every day, and we would tent the house, to shoot, night for day, and then it was like 120 degrees, and the props weren't cured yet, and they would start, vaporizing as they dried up, but there was an atmosphere. We were living it, and we were in that August Texas heat. To the point that it was, it was real. The heat, the atmosphere, and it was such long hours that one definitely blurred into the other.
We shot for 4 solid weeks, 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day. And after a while, we were just zombies. We were so burned out. I think it shows in the film.
If you've tapped into the spirit or the nerve or whatever this thing that comes up, if you throw a net over it and capture it, and you're in there with the demon, it's in your life, and you take it home with you, and you bring it back to the set.
It crossed over from acting into that, and at the dinner sequence, when I'm poking her and hitting her, it was real. Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't like Marilyn. It was just like, been up for a long time. And you get a little crazy because you're being asked over and over and over to do crazy things.
And I just had to make sure, everything's safe. I mean, everybody is, Geez, everyone on this film. Daniel Pearl operating the camera almost got an eye knocked out with a dolly shot traveling so fast in the woods that the camera hit a tree and jammed. Everybody got injured. That just kept reminding you we're talking about flesh and blood and life.
I could barely see out of the mask. I could see only directly in front of me. I had no peripheral vision at all, so that made the chase sequences very difficult.
Gunner's mask had ridden up on him, and he was with a chainsaw, and and of course now we're doing a long shot, so the cast and the crew are all like 50 yards away, and the perspective, you could see it plain as day, where he's getting closer and closer and closer, and he doesn't realize it. He's about to cut her in half in real time, and everybody's going, ah, ah, ah. And Gunner is meanwhile thinking, I'm really doing a good job, boy. They're yelling for me and egging me on. He's just about to kill this woman, and Toby's going, well, let him get a little bit closer.
My favorite scene to shoot was actually the dance at the end. I just started swinging the saw and kind of stamping around. And then I noticed, and they cleared everybody away, and I could barely see out of the mask. And I noticed that there was the cameraman standing there with the camera on me, and Tobe was standing behind him. And then they would move around me as I moved. And at one point I had sort of swung the saw, and I realized that Tobe had ducked. So the reason it was such a pleasure to do that scene is I started swinging the saw at Tobe. I was imagining that I was going to kill Tobe with the saw. So it was with great pleasure. That's when I started really dancing around and spinning and swinging that saw, was that I wanted to scare them with what I was doing. I wasn't angry at Tobe. I thought he was great. I think it was just the frustration and the sort of just the desire to do something back, after suffering for 4 weeks of shooting.
But Chainsaw has this reputation for being so visceral and bloody and gory, and it isn't. And I mean, the blood's there; it's dried on the walls, and the girl on the meat hook. When I pan down her body to show the wash tub underneath, it is obviously to catch, a lot of fluid. There's nothing dripping from her. It's just you put it together in your mind because it makes sense. Chainsaw 1 was a play about morality in a strange way, and family values. And it was all bubbling up out of the Times and out of Watergate. And once again, I underline, we found out as a naive students such that hey, they don't always tell you the truth. So it was about a film about a bad day. For everyone, actually a bad day for Leatherface and everyone. The spot that we shot Chainsaw 1 on is now Dell Computers. And the house, they moved it to another little town and turned it into a restaurant. But just the house, but without any reference to what it is. I would have taken it, I would have turned it into a barbecue restaurant straight away, and it would have been fun. The remake idea has been around about 3 or 4 years.
I got a call from the casting people because they were interested in having me be in the movie. And the first thing out of this casting person's mouth is, this is a retelling of this film. Now, this time it's going to be a dark psychological horror. It's not going to be a bloodbath like the original. And I thought, have you ever seen this movie? I wonder if they get it, and I wonder why they need to remake the film. Why do you need to remake a movie that already did its job really well?
If it's successful and becomes a classic, it's going to be remade. And I have kind of had to have been a little philosophic about that, and it's a fact. It's a fact. It's they remade Frankenstein, remade Dracula, but still there's only one original.
Yes, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre will always be Tobe Hooper's magnum opus, and he will greatly be missed. Margot Robbie is being pegged to play Sharon Tate in the next Quentin Tarantino pick, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which depicts the stories of Charles Manson, the Manson women, and the murder of the actress Sharon Tate in her Hollywood home. Right now, it is just an offer, so she has to pick whether she wants to do it or not, but I'm going to guess all signs point to yes whenever your co-stars are Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, this is the tapestry of the set in Los Angeles in 1969, at the height of the hippie Hollywood, around the time of the murder of Tate and several others in the killing spree of Charles Manson. I'm very interested to see how Quentin Tarantino is going to attack this, especially with all these allegations in Hollywood right now, going after him for this and that, and what he did to Uma Thurman, but when he was filming Kill Bill. I'm sure Margot's a little hesitant to jump at the role right away, but like I said, when you got a backup stars like DiCaprio and Pitt, I'm pretty sure it's not that bad. I expressed to you all earlier in the show how excited I am for the new Halloween film that is going to be directed by Gordon Green and co-written by Danny McBride. That's right, that Danny McBride. Yeah, he said that this film is going to take place right after the first Halloween, also starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Fans are not too happy about that, as Halloween 2 is still directed by John Carpenter and picks up during the same night. That is October 31st. So, you can excuse Halloween 3, 4, 5, 6, all those films. Now, granted, I love all those movies, so it's kind of interesting that he's doing that. Well, now, McBride went on an interview with Flickering Myth about, they're going to pay homage to those films. McBride said the Halloween franchise has kind of become a little bit of like a choose your own adventure. Like there's many different versions and the timeline is so mixed up, we just thought it would be easier to go back to the source and continue from there. McBride continues, we do reference the other movies for fans. We pay homage and respect to every Halloween that has been out there. So will we see some silver shamrock mask here and there? Will we see a tattoo on the wrist of Michael Myers proving that he is a a resurrected god, possibly. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, this one comes out October 19th, 2018, so look for that very soon. Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge stop-motion fan. Anything that Henry Selick works on, I am a huge fan of. Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline. Why do those films resonate so well? Well, they're, worked on by great creators like Tim Burton and Neil Gaiman. So when you get great writers and creators behind stop motion, you can make some of the best, film of all time. Well, I'm happy to report that Netflix is in the works with director Jordan Peele, who just came off his best screenplay for Get Out. He and Keegan-Michael Key from the duo Key and Peele are going to team up and work with Henry Selick in doing a stop motion film for Netflix. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be called Wendell in the Wild, and that should be coming out sometime in the future. It takes a little while for stop motion to be made, but that is one of Jordan Peele's next creative endeavors. So I'm very excited to see that. That's not a lot of news out right now, but the fact that, Henry Selick is part of this and Jordan and Keegan, I'm pretty sure this is going to be something amazing. And it'll be on Netflix, which is great. So probably in 3 years, our Netflix subscriptions will probably be about $17 by that point. But it'll be worth the wait, so keep holding out. If you guys listened to the last episode with Douglas Pipes and Mike Bouvet, you know that Mac is working on a little series called Typecast about a real werewolf working in Hollywood. It was something really fun. She had to postpone the Kickstarter for a while, but good news is the Kickstarter is coming back, and it will be starting on April 2nd. So once I get a link, I will make sure to post it to all of our social media outlets on Twitter and on Facebook. So go and support Mac and this little project. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you guys haven't, go back and listen to the last episode where I interview Mac and just talk to her about, her love for horror and what's going to come from this new series. Big news from Shout Factory this past week. It looks like they have acquired the entire Roger Corman collection. That's right. Literally 270 films, action, sci-fi, TV series, horror, you name it. But yeah, this includes Rock and Roll High School, Battle Beyond the Stars, Piranha, Galaxy of Terror, Blood Fist, Black Scorpion, Eat My Dust, Humanoids from Deep Slumber Party Massacre, Forbidden World, and so much more. Shout Factory and Ace Film plan to tap the 270 films and TV titles into a New Horizons library for the new content development of remakes. This is going to be merchandise, licensing programs, digital media content, and syndication across streaming, TV, digital, video on-demand platforms. So that's really cool that we're going to see a lot more of Roger Corman's visceral, just original stuff. And I can't wait to see this. And just a lot more of the campy stuff too. It's just a lot of fun to watch. Turbine Media Group is giving us all something that some of us have been looking forward to for quite a while. That's right, the long out-of-print first feature film of director John Landis, Schlock, is coming to Blu-ray and DVD April 27th, 2018. This is a story about a monkey in a rubber monkey costume terrorizing a town. Think Animal House, but with a big gorilla running around the streets. It's very John Landis, let me just say that. It looks very cool. It's going to be limited to 2,000 copies. This is where legendary makeup artist Greg Nicotero got his start. He worked on Schlock, creating the rubber monkey for the movie. This looks really nice. The set itself, I'm looking at pictures right now, looks really sweet. It's a 2-disc combo. You got your Blu-ray, you got your DVD, all your special features. I'll post a little video, a little trailer on the Facebook page for you all. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I will definitely be picking this one up. Schlock. I was out in Atlanta, Georgia recently working on a television series for NBC, and everybody was about to wrap up on that series and work on a new film, which was going to be Goosebumps. That's right, the new Goosebumps film is filming out in Atlanta right now. It just got a rename from Goosebumps Slappy's something or other, but now it is Goosebumps Slappy Halloween. Get it? Like a play on Happy Halloween. That's right, the next Goosebumps movie is going to be a Halloween film, so that gets me a little bit more excited for this one compared to the last one, which I felt wasn't very spooky or scary. It was just kind of like kids goofing around with Jack Black and goofy things. Like this one, I hope, has a little bit more of a spooky feel with the Halloween overtone. I always just feel like Halloween gives your movie another 20% awesome whenever you add it in. This film includes Wendy McLondon-Covey from Reno 911 and The Goldbergs, Ken Jeong from Community and Hangover, and Chris Parnell, and a bunch of other kids, from the Jumanji films and Castle Rock and It and whatnot. But that'll be really cool. See some more of the more terrifying characters come out in this Goosebumps film. At least I hope so. Fingers crossed. This one will be coming out October 12th of this year. So I've been following the story of the horror Marvel film New Mutants for quite a while. This film wrapped production a little while ago, and it looks like they delayed it, and they're doing reshoots, and the film's not coming out until February 22nd, 2019 now. And they're adding a new character to the film. Now, whether this character plays a big part in it, I just think that's crazy to add an entirely new character to your already finished film. But hey, who knows? I feel like the buzz from fans about this movie being a horror film got people really excited for it compared to what it was actually going to be. I think marketing turned it into a horror film. I think, the posters and the trailer was geared to be a spooky, scary film. But the film itself really wasn't. So since the buzz was that it was going to be a horror film and the film would have came out and wouldn't have been very scary, I think it would have just died. So, they're going with it. They're going to make this a horror mutant film, which I think is great. That's awesome. Anya Taylor-Joy, she just wrapped Thoroughbreds recently, and she came out and said, that I do think there is a great responsibility to make sure the movie is done right and that we deliver the fans something that they can all feel happy about and excited about. See what I'm talking about? Taylor-Joy, who also plays the Rasputin, she goes on to say, so I don't think it being delayed is a bad thing because it's definitely more important to make sure that we get it right rather than rushing it to make a date. Completely understand. I totally agree with that. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do with this New Mutants film. I was a big fan of the New Mutants comics. I'm not really sure if they're going to play along the Hellion storyline at all, which would be great. So I think it's the birth of a new X-Men franchise for Fox. They're not letting go of these mutants anytime soon. So we shall see. Oh, it's all in the same wheelhouse now, isn't it? Marvel now is working with Fox like they're working with Sony. I don't know. They're all having a giant Marvel comic orgy these days. So I'm like a lot of you out there. I'm a Twin Peaks nut. And I like a good cup of black coffee in the morning, but at night, I would like something that has that same feel and taste. If only David Lynch gave us a beer that was themed after the Twin Peaks. Rest assured, it is happening. In close collaboration with David Lynch, Danish microbrewery Milkler has brewed 3 Twin Peaks-inspired beers. They are the Log Lady Lager, Damn Good Coffee Stout, and Red Room Ale. These look delicious. The labels look amazing. Everything from concept to tasting all went through David Lynch and what he wanted these cans to look like, the colors, and of course the tastes. That even David Lynch's signature cup of organic house blend coffee is in the Damn Good Coffee Stout, which I think is really cool. The only way you can taste this, though, is if you go to the second annual Festival of Disruption in Los Angeles. This is the Twin Peaks convention, if you will. Yes, they're gonna have the beer for sale out there. The show runs from October 14th and 15th. If anybody's out there and gets their hands on this beer, I will gladly shoot you a few bucks to send me some. Holy crap, you have no idea. So yeah, very cool stuff out there. What a great time we live in right now. Twin Peaks beer, go fig. That's all the news we have for this month. After this little Toonski, I'll be giving you guys my Netflix recommendations for horror this month, featured artists, my reviews, and so much more. This is Ryan Gosling and a bunch of kids. This is Dead Man's Bones, in the room where you sleep.
I saw something sitting on your bed. I saw something touching your head. Where you sleep, in the room where you sleep, where you sleep. You better hide. something sitting on your bed. I saw something touching your head in the room where you sleep, in the room where you sleep, where you sleep, where you sleep, where you sleep.
I recently had the chance to review the first and second issues of Waxwork Records' new comic and LP vinyl collaboration of an opening of their new comic series, House of Waxwork. The music you're listening to right now is from that comic, and they put out some really great stuff. All of it is originally composed, works very well with the comics. If you like anthology stories like Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Hood, those kind of things, EC Comics in general, just that old classic feel of just, creepy mini stories put together, but having an authentic soundtrack behind that. Think about when you used to read those Teddy Ruxpin stories, or Mickey Mouse, and they'd have like the little cassette tape you put inside them, and they would play a story or a song for you while you read the book. It's like that, but for older, nerdy 30-something horror fans. I love everything that Bergeron and all those guys out there are doing over at Waxwork. They always treat me so kindly, and so the rest of these songs are going to be from that series. And if you like it, go to waxworkrecords.com and purchase one or two. Yeah, get some really cool fucking vinyl and comics. So my featured artist this month is Sam Heimer. Sam, basically, he is Halloween. I mean, he has the name Sam. He is Sam Hain. This guy, his depiction of horror and Halloween and just vintage look compiled into horror, it's amazing. It's very etchy. It reminds me of just vintage 20s Halloween look, but everything's a little bit scarier, a little bit more intense. Just hollow, dark eyes. Think along the lines of Over the Garden Wall, but amp up the horror just a little bit more. This guy has talent, I'm telling you. You can check out his stuff. Just go to samheimer, HEIMER.wordpress.com to check out some of his work. Very beautiful stuff. He's selling prints over on his Etsy store. That's at etsy.com/shop/Sam Heimer, SAMHEIMER. He has greeting cards. He has full art prints. Even has the little muscle men that have for sale on his Etsy store, and just some great stuff. He really captures that essence of Halloween that I'm always looking for, and I was really happy to stumble upon him on Instagram. And he didn't ask me to say any of this. He probably doesn't even know who I am. I just want to get the word out there because his work is just so good. So definitely check out that he is the artist of the month. So let's get right into what's haunting us on Netflix. This little feature, something that I wanted to bring back, that you guys have been, saying you wanted to hear more of. So I'm going to bring it back tenfold and give you guys, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I recommend this month on Netflix. Let's start off with the film Veronica. This is based off a semi-true story. It took place in Spain. It's a Spanish film that's subtitled. It's about a girl that finds herself besieged by an evil supernatural force after playing an Ouija board game with her 2 classmates. I would have to say this is probably the best Ouija film I've seen, because a lot of the ones that came out in theaters, including the film Ouija, was kind of god-awful, and I don't like them very much. This one had a nice little flavor to it. Maybe it's because it's almost a true crime story. I feel like they casted the main girl because she can elongate her jaw a little bit more than most girls, but it works for the scenes that they shoot in this film. There's a little boy in there that's super adorable that reminds me of little baby Guillermo del Toro. But other than that, yeah, there's a lot of slow burns. There's, nudity is always scary. So whenever you see it in the dark and someone has a flashlight, like that kind of stuff is in there. So if you don't like seeing full frontal, this is not the film for you. But the film's great. I really enjoyed this one. Check it out. Next up is a series called Devilman Crybaby. This is a Netflix original series. It's an anime. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the original Devilman anime series, but it's basically about demons taking over the world and about one guy that tries to reclaim humanity in himself, and he is a demon. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. I'm just going to say that right now. Devilman Crybaby is fucking intense. There is just heads on pikes and fucking and full frontal and things coming out of tits and acid and demons just eating people, and some of the best Japanese hip-hop you've ever heard. I know, it's randomness beyond belief, but I fucking loved every episode of this anime. I highly recommend it. If you guys know I think Supercharger Heaven is the song that Rob Zombie sings. The Devil Man. Yeah, it's based off this anime. Not this one for Netflix, but the original. But the new one on Netflix is fucking great. I think it's about 10 to 12 episodes long. It's very depressing towards the end, but it's still a fucking great ride. I loved it. I highly recommend Devilman Crybaby on Netflix. Next up, we are going with The Ritual. That's right, The fucking Ritual. This movie was fucking great. I love the way that, the creature effects were done in this film. It kind of reminded me of The World's End with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but a horror film. This one was directed by David Bruckner. This came out October 13th in the United Kingdom. Really great screenplay by Joe Barton. It's a reuniting story about a bunch of guys that get together after one of their friends has brutally been murdered and passed, and they want to commemorate his memory. And they go hiking, and of course things go awry. I don't want to give anything more than that, but it is fucking visceral towards the very end, and not a lot of these guys make it out. But man, the force of the Norse legend, we gotta watch out for that shit. Next up is Haunters, The Art of the Scare. This is John Schnitzer's documentary back from September of 2017. This thing is great. I got to sit down and watch this the other day, and it is just so much fun. I love whenever you have a documentary that goes through and looks at different types of people's haunts for Halloween and what they put into them, because every kind of haunt that somebody can put their time and their love and their effort into is always 100% different. You have your Halloween Horror Night stuff, which John touches on by interviewing one of the head creators out in Hollywood. But you have your indie haunts that has, just your typical maze and spooks and boo holes and things like that, and your characters. And then there's storytelling haunts where, they're putting theatrics to it and they're putting you in a story, kind of almost like an escape room. And then there are your intense houses. And that's what Haunters kind of focuses on the most. And I like that because that's not a haunt that ever interests me. I know we've seen, the houses that October built where, they kind of go and touch on these like extreme houses in a movie fashion. But this is true. This is, you're getting, a full front view into this guy's house, and he tells you, what's been going on, and the death threats that he gets daily, yearly, and just trying to make it bigger and better. And he had the interview process beforehand, and they don't hold back. A lot of these haunts, they have safe words when they take you in, and they pull you deep, and they scream at you, and they rip your clothes, and they spit in your face and degrade you basically. And once you say that safe word, lights come on and you get out. That's probably the safest way to do it. This is one haunter. He doesn't do that. There is no safe word. So once you're in there, you are in there. You are these hired goons' plaything for the next, I guess, hour? I forget, they said a certain number of how long these things last, but it's a long time to be just brutally, just viciously attacked. Not my thing for Halloween fun and scares in a haunted house, but it's out there. And if you want a deeper look into that world, definitely check out Haunters Are the Scare. Highly recommended on Netflix. I would love to see a part 2 of this be released this year, actually. And my fifth choice is kind of a two-parter because I feel like I'm gypping you guys because I kind of give the same choice every time I give my top 5 Netflix horror recommendations. It's Penny Dreadful. If you have Netflix and you're not watching Penny Dreadful or you haven't seen it yet, there's no excuse. This is the best storytelling out there. And it is the best depiction of classic monsters like the Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, and other created gothic characters brought into a world together. This is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen I've always wanted. Please, for me, watch Penny Dreadful. I promise you will not regret it. And then, of course, Twin Peaks. Seasons 1 and 2 of Twin Peaks are on there. You should watch that. So those are my 2 parts for you guys. I know there's a new Frankenstein Chronicles series starring Sean Bean on Netflix. I haven't given it a chance yet. It looks like a very gothic storytelling tale. If any of you guys have heard anything about it, if you think it's good, please shoot me a message. Recommend it to me over at the Facebook page or at me at HallowsEve365 on Twitter. I would love to hear. So that's my Netflix recommendations. Now, let's move into films. I was able to sit down and watch Eli Roth's remake of Death Wish recently. For those you don't know, Charles Bronson made the Death Wish films famous and made about 5 of them, I think. And I love Death Wish 3. Death Wish 3 is my favorite of the series. I appreciate 1 and 2. Obviously, 1 has Jeff Goldblum, 2 has Lawrence Fishburne. They both play rapists and not very good pen in those movies. Luckily, in this one, not so much rape happens. Now, granted, the landing doesn't really stick too well in this one, but it's just kind of hard to believe that Bruce Willis is a bumbling, not action star character in this one. But if you can suspend your disbelief for a little bit, he doesn't do a bad job. They really depict Chicago pretty well in the series. Not so much the crime, but just a lot of the cool shots and scenes that Eli put into this film. It's definitely a rental, if anything. Watch it on Netflix when it pops up. But I give it a solid 3 out of 5. Next up, we have Winchester. Winchester is also coming out on Blu-ray and DVD on April 17th. This had Helen Mirren walking around being the heir to the famous Winchester mansion. Spooks and creeps happen all throughout the house. Little boys being creepy. It was okay. It's a slow burn. Again, wouldn't rush out to theaters. Luckily, it's already coming out on Blu-ray and DVD for you guys who haven't seen it yet. So, yeah, not too bad. Annihilation with Natalie Portman. Easily the best film I've seen so far this year. There's a whole controversy going on right now about how these kind of films shouldn't be in theaters because they make you think, and that makes me sad. Apparently sci-fi, deep sci-fi that doesn't really spell everything out for you is considered, is not making the best ticket sales, and that's disheartening. So I recommend going out to the theater now. If it's still out in theaters, go see Annihilation. It was fucking brilliant. I loved every minute of it. It kept me and my girlfriend guessing and talking about, different scenarios and stuff afterwards. A lot of fun. Next up, The Strangers Prey at Night. This is a sequel from the director who did the original Strangers. I fucking loved it. I thought this was so much fun. Definitely different from the first one. The first one was a little bit more of a slow burn. This new Strangers all takes place in a trailer park at night. And it's a family just trying to survive the evening, and it's raw, it's scary, it just has some of the best moments, and it kind of pulls that that kind of 80s synthy look soundtrack here and there every now and then, which I liked. I thought it was a nice little change up, so it was pretty good. So yeah, definitely 2 thumbs up on that one. I give that a good 4 out of 5 for sure. As for new series coming out, Ash vs. Evil Dead has been fucking fantastic. Please watch Ash vs. Evil Dead, support it. It is literally an Evil Dead movie every week. Why would you not watch that? The new characters have been great. Season 3 has just been off the wall. The first 2 seasons are on Netflix. Give that a chance, please. Ash vs. Evil Dead, solid series. What else do we have? X-Files Season 11 has been fucking spot on. The first couple episodes was a tad rocky. Wasn't sure how I was feeling about it. As these new episodes have been going, it's been some of the best. There's one episode where Mulder and Scully don't even talk. It's just them dealing with technology. And it was one of the best episodes. I was laughing. It was scary. It was crazy. And then the episode after that with Mr. Giggle Teeth, or whatever the fuck his name is. That was a terrifying episode. The last episode with vampires, fucking fantastic. We have one more episode, and then X-Files Season 11's over. And then we might lose Gillian Anderson forever. Sad face. Other than that, The Walking Dead's been okay, I guess. We got a lot of, Carl is taking a step back, and Rick is going after Negan. We've seen him attacking him with a baseball bat. He gets his hand on a hatchet, and he's going after Negan. I'm sure this season's going to end a little bit crazier. They got to hype up those ratings a lot right now. But, I still dig The Walking Dead. I know a lot of people bitch about it, but I don't think it's that bad right now. So yeah, I think that's really about it, guys. Please play The Impatient on the PSVR. It's probably the scariest horror game in VR that I've ever tried. I know Alex Aja and Robert Englund are doing a VR horror film right now, which I find very interesting. I think VR is the new place for horror. And it works. You can only turn your head and close your eyes for so long until you have to keep moving. The Impatient from the guys that did Until Dawn for the PlayStation. This is their prequel to that game. And it's you trapped in an insane asylum. You can already tell like the shit that would probably happen within that. It's a little 2-hour game. I wouldn't pay $40 for it. I sadly did because I'm an idiot, but I am a sucker for horror VR in general. That's it, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for following. Like I said, jump on YouTube, add me, Keenan McClellan, on there. You'll see a lot more road trips to spooky places. I love sharing all this stuff with you guys, and I hope to get back to you guys with another episode very soon. Like I said, I pack these things full of information for you guys, so I want you guys to have the best episodes, and maybe we'll have a few interviews lined up for you all. I also want to give a shout out to VHS Comics. Go to ebonpress.com, EIBONPRESS.com. These guys put out comics based on Maniac and classic horror films. They just redo them, and they have their original comics too. Very fucking cool stuff. Check that stuff out at ebonpress.com, VHS Comics. All right, guys. See ya. Peace. Stay scary.
Who's your daddy?
Papa Ash here. Let me tell you, folks, kids and parties go together like hookers and handjobs. They booze, they smoke, they get high, they screw. How do you handle this? Simple. You tag along. Why the hell should they have all the fun? Hey, kid, mix up a new batch of pink fucker, you're grounded. Papa's getting wasted tonight.
Whoa!